Today we will be showing one of the houses of one of our clients, and after that he will also have an interview. We will ask him a few questions, so come with me. Hello Paul.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello Enrique.
Nice to see you. So thank you so much for today, for receiving us in your house.
No, you're more than welcome. I'm very happy to do it. Yeah, please come on. Let's sit on the tower.
Let's go and see. So Paul, thank you for coming today.
You're welcome.
Or for offering us the interview to be in your house. So could you tell us a little bit about the experience on buying with Costa Blanca homes in Spain, how it was, and
Right. Well, obviously, to start with, you've got to choose your area where you want to live. I did have a house in Andalusia for about 8 years, out in the countryside.
Yeah.
But we wanted to move from there. So the first thing you have to do is select where you want to live, because obviously Spain's a very big country with many different parts to it. Now we had friends in this particular area, so we decided that we'd pick the Costa Blanca. It's very popular with British expats, not just British expats, but it is very popular with them.
Yeah.
So we started by doing an internet search in the area that we're looking for, and as you can imagine, there are hundreds of different companies out there trying to sell property.
I think thousands.
Thousands even, yes. And I think one or two we tried, and then we've seen Costa Blanca homes in Spain, very good professional setup on their internet. And then, because I like to speak to people, I then decided I would phone the number that you had on your website. And lo and behold, I think if I'm correct, it was Tony who answered the phone when I rang on this particular day. And I put him under a little bit of pressure, because I think I probably rang him in November or December and said, I've got 3 days free in January. Can I come down? You can show me some houses in January. So, and I thought he'd probably not be able to manage that, but he said, yeah, leave it with me, let's put something together. I said, well, what about somewhere to stay? What do we do? Don't you worry about any of that, he said. You just give me the dates that you're coming. I will organise somewhere for you to stay. I will arrange for it to be picked up from the airport, etc. And then I'll arrange to meet up with you once you've arrived. So of course that's fantastic, because that's your first worry. Where am I going to stay? How do I get around? I know the area a little bit, because I looked at it about 12 or 15 years ago. Anyway, so we organised a 3-day visit. And I do remember one funny thing, because by then I sort of spoke with Tony a couple of times on the phone. I don't think I'd met you by then, but I'd certainly spoken with Tony, realised he was a northern fella like myself, a Scouser. I think he was an ex-fireman as well. I'm an ex-serviceman, so there was a little bit of synergy. There was the connection in there. Well, there was a synergy there as well.
Yeah.
And he seemed quite pleasant. Obviously, I think it's important that you need to speak to people as well, not just look, because you can see anything on your website, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we come down. I think when we came down and first came to your office, I think there was an automatic click there. There certainly was. I mean, Lorraine as well. We just felt comfortable straight away. There didn't seem to be any hard sell. Right, come on, let's get out there, look at properties, It was all, what about yourselves? What are you doing? Took a little bit of time to find out about each other and what sort of properties. When I phoned up, of course, I'd already given you a price range and the sort of properties I was looking at, because whatever information you can give to the sellers does help. It saves a lot of wasted time not to take you to places clearly which are either out of your price range or that you don't want to live. So I think I give Tony a fairly good idea, certainly of what my price range was. I also give him an idea of where I wanted to live, and I also specifically said I don't want to live in Villamartin. And Tony said, yeah, that's not a problem. I'll find some really lovely places for you. There's lots of places down here. Then, lo and behold, we came down, and as I said, there was no hard sell. We were willing to listen, or you were willing to listen to what we wanted, although we did end up with a brand new modern villa rather than our place in the countryside. And I think because we'd lived in Andalusia in the Campo for a while, and anyway, we weren't secure in that. We were getting older, we needed to move near to hospitals and bars and restaurants and things. So really, Villamartin, even though we said we didn't want to live there, Tony said, look, there's some nice new properties being built there. Would you mind if I show you and Lorraine around? And I said, of course, not a problem. He didn't force us to go there. He already had some elsewhere. Anyway, lo and behold, I think after 3 or 4 properties we looked over in Lomas de Cabarroig first. We then came here, not to this particular house, but the show house around the corner, same design, and sort of automatically fell in love with it. I mean,
You fall in love.
Lorraine and myself both were, because we weren't really interested. You don't know what you want until you see it. That's the problem. And it was weird because it was the show house that we were looking at. Of course, it's always nice to look at the show house because it's got furniture, it looks nice and all of that. And of course, we didn't want the property for 2 years.
Yeah.
That was the plan for us. So you two gentlemen, I remember at the time, you introduced me to Fran, who was the actual developer. Once again, a really lovely guy, lovely man. And you, on my behalf, negotiated because Lorraine wanted this show house, no doubt about it. Fran said, I don't sell the show house until the end of the project. You don't want the 2 years thing. You then went across in a little huddle, came back to me and said, okay, if you want the show house, the deal is you pay 50% up front now. They will use it for the show house for 2 years. Then they will do all the snagging. You pay the 50% when you're happy and you end up with... So for me, it was perfect. It allowed me to go back to Germany where I was working, finish my job, get retired and everything else, knowing that the house was pretty much ours. We picked the show house because we knew houses settle after you buy them, so there would be settling cracks and various things that they would be on top of, because of course it was the show house. So it was an astute idea to do it, but it was also, we wanted that particular house. So the experience, that particular experience, it was quite simple from actually getting down here, seeing what we wanted, and you give me some ideas of what solicitors to choose and all the rest of it. It really was. I then went back to Germany, and in all fairness, everything was done by email then.
Yeah.
I don't think we came back down for quite a few months then, because we didn't need to.
Yeah.
We came down to visit now and again and stayed down in Lomas de Cabaroy, where we have some friends, and we'd come and visit and just have a look, keep looking at the house as people were looking around it, and be very proud when people were looking around saying, oh, isn't this beautiful? And I'd say, yes, this is our house, this is. You look at, what's your house? Yes, we bought this already. Wow. So no, the experience, I think, was pretty straightforward. All I will say is you have to have in your mind what you want. You have to have a price limit and be realistic, and try not to wander off and make it too difficult for the seller, because otherwise they can spend a lot of time with you for no effort at the end of the day. It's not fair. You need to know what you want, what your price range is. If you can do that, they'll take you to property. Certainly that was my experience here. And we did look at many other properties in all fairness, but this, well, I think when people see the video, hopefully they'll see why we picked
And
it.
everyone has different tastes, no?
Of course.
Some people, they would like to have a new build, some people would like to have just a modern property inside, and some others, they would like just to see something that is already completely done, and they don't mind the Spanish style. What would you recommend to people that is afraid on buying a new build in Spain at the moment? Because I remember that 15, 20 years ago, people was afraid of getting something that is never going to be built, and they leave a big deposit.
Never experienced that at all. I mean, as I said at the beginning, I think it's important that you choose reputable companies.
Yes.
You can't just go with anyone. I mean, you don't give somebody, I give this guy about 140,000 euros up front.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that if I didn't think it was safe. Now, how did I know that? Well, first of all, you took me around other developments of his. We've seen other work of his, etc. So there you found out he's a Procogen company at the end of the day, isn't he? So you kept telling me that you'd worked with him before. I met him personally. He seemed a really, really lovely guy. So I don't think you should be scared, but you shouldn't be scared, but you should pick reputable companies, and you must pick a good lawyer, somebody who's a lawyer in property. It's no good picking a lawyer.
Not
good
just
in
a
divorces
simple solicitor.
No, not a solicitor. You must pick somebody who knows about properties. I think from 15, 20 years ago, people were scared because there was lots of selling illegal houses. Now, it still happens in Spain, but it's very rare now. It's very difficult to sell a property nowadays if it's not legal. So I would say, don't be scared by the process, but choose reputable companies. Don't go off hearsay or my mate said this. Research them. And also, if you can, try to go down 2 or 3 times before you make your final decision. Try to look at it 2 or 3 different times of the year. Watch it in the evening, how busy it is. For instance, you don't know, there might be a party in one of the houses over there every night with a rock band or something. So just try to get to know the area, and that's what we did. We came 3, 4 times, I think, before we finally decided. But I don't think the process is that difficult. You shouldn't be scared.
No, and we have everything ready for the possible buyers. When they come here, they come normally on an inspection trip, and they come without commitment. We don't push anyone.
Yeah.
They decide if they want to reserve or not. We just let them to be aware that properties, they stay on the market maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month. It really depends on which kind of property we're talking about.
Exactly.
Could you tell us a little bit about how it was your after sales, or the after sales that Costa Blanca Homes in Spain was giving to you after you reserve it and then you complete it? Obviously this was an exception because you bought the show house and then you had a deal where there was 1.5, 2 years rent for that company, but then after that, did they just abandon you? Or?
No, not at all, no. And I think, once again, we would have a unique set of circumstances, which was probably unusual for you guys as well, in that we wanted the house 2 years down the line, but we wanted to commit to buying it there and then. So you must have felt secure that these aren't mucking us around. He's paid a lot of money. He clearly wanted the property.
Yes.
But equally, we were going to end up essentially with an empty property. So before we get to the after sales, even in the process of buying it, we said, well, what about furnishing and things? And then you introduced us to a lovely lady called Evie, who I later found out was actually your good lady wife, but she's also an interior designer. She spent many hours with me and Lorraine with little cloths.
She has that gift, no?
Shops and things. And we picked, pretty much, we designed with her help how we wanted the villa. Yeah. We then left it in Evie's hands, and once again dealt via email. She would send us various pictures of things, yes, no, etc. And essentially, when we then came down a couple of years later, and I just remember meeting, I think it was Evie was here, as we walked through the front door after she'd done all of the work, because we just remember seeing the show house, but not with our stuff in. And it was just wow, it was just, we couldn't
was the
believe.
wow factor.
It was indeed. And we pretty much, I hope Evie will agree, we left her alone. Once we decided what we wanted, there was a little bit of conversation via email and telephone over when she was buying things, and are you happy? I can't get exactly this. Here's a picture of something else. But I think when people do look at the video and they see what the end result was, it was fantastic. So before we even got to the after sales, the before sales, and what I'm trying to say there is you can have the whole package. You can buy you can buy something furnished already, but if you're worried about getting furnishings and good quality furnishing things, you don't need to worry. You guys can set that up for them as well. So I think that was pretty cool. And when you're a couple of 1,000 miles away in another country and you've spent a lot of money, you do worry about things like this, but I really didn't have any concern. We'd met Evie, we knew her ideas. She's one of them lucky people who can look at a small piece of cloth and things and see things. I can't. I haven't the vision to see that. But
Me neither.
I can't do it. But I mean, I pretty much, we were absolutely delighted. So on the after sales side, though, I think what I'd like to say on the after sales side is after 2 years of living here now, not only after sales side, but I think that both of you have become a really good friend of mine as well. So, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but life got a little bit complicated in between buying the property and moving here, and that my wife was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and even arranging doctor's appointments. You arranged for me to go and see the specialist in the hospital, all things which other companies, quite frankly, would have just went, whoa, that's not in the...
Too complicated.
It's too complicated. That's not the contract for me. So, I mean, even now, 2 years later, if I have a problem, even now, because you have your snagging list, you have your 10 years warranty, if I get any problems with the developer, I just pick the phone up to you or Tony, and within normally a day or two, I've got one of the developers on me saying, yeah, okay, we'll sort it out. So after sales, you definitely keep people interested. It's not over when the sale's over.
No.
Some people are quite happy once it's over to move on, and that's fine. But if you want to maintain a relationship and get a good business afterwards, I've certainly experienced that with you guys.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that appreciation. At the moment, we believe that our family is getting more and more and more, bigger and bigger and bigger, because we have so many clients that are coming to our office almost every day to have a cup of coffee with us. Yeah. So for that is a big fulfillment. You know, it's not only about successful on sales, but it's also about to create a family of friends that they can come every day to us.
Yeah, you hear so many horror stories of people getting, and it all boils down to doing your homework though, and picking a reputable company. You have to do that. There's so many people out there will just sell you something. They're not interested in anything other than selling the property. It's as simple as that. I never ever got that feeling. Me and Lorraine throughout the whole process never felt rushed. We never felt forced. In fact, one story which just comes to mind now, which is equally important. When Lorraine was diagnosed with her terminal cancer, my world fell apart.
Yeah.
You guys were very, very upset about it. We really didn't know what to do, whether we should just go and live at our house in England or whatever, but Lorraine wanted to come down here. I remember you getting in touch with Fran and coming back to me, and even Fran had said, look, Paul, I will give you all your money back. If you no longer, because of this situation, don't want to come here, I can sell the show house time and time again. There's not many developers I know, when they've got 140 grand off you, it would give you it back.
I agree.
But that also shows you what sort of people we're dealing with at the end of the day. There's so many horror stories, but there's so many more nice stories out there. If only people had the chance to get... Nice stories don't make news in the newspapers, that's the problem.
Exactly.
It's only the horror stories. So I really couldn't have asked for better. Before sales, during sales, and after sales, quite frankly. I'm really... And I think if we move on to, you know, have I picked the right place? It's Villa Morton. I'm absolutely delighted the fact that I picked Villa Morton now, and the reason for that is 3 or 4 reasons. 45, 50 minutes away from 2 major airports, Alicante and Murcia. You've got 10 to 15 minutes drive down to the most wonderful beaches you can think of in the Costa Blanca. Yeah, it's just full of it. But equally, if you don't want the touristy side, you can turn right and go inland, and within 30 to 40 minutes you can be in a lovely old Spanish town eating tapas. Mm-hmm. The beauty of this place is there is so much there. You have Xenia Boulevard, of course, which is a big brand new shopping centre there with cinemas and bowling alleys and more shops than you can shake a stick at. So from a point of view, certainly as you get older and you realise that you need all of these sort of things, Villa Martin or Villa Martin is probably one of the most obvious places to pick, quite frankly. No doubt about it. Despite me saying I didn't want to come here.
The one you said that you did not want
Correct. But then
to
again,
be in. But
well, this goes to show how good your sales are at the end of the day.
No, but you have seen it 10 days before, no?
What?
This area, Villa Martin.
No, 10 or 12 years ago we came. I hated it.
Exactly. So
but
once you've seen it, the area of Orihuela Costa, that is the one that we're talking about, you know, Villa Martin. It's an area that builds so fast now for the last 10 years. Yeah. At the moment, people that have seen the last 12 years or 15 years, they will come here, they don't recognize the area anymore. Yeah. They know about Torrevieja, and then this area was all trees before.
No, I'm delighted with it.
There is still a few natural parks.
Yeah, there is.
Almost all the rest.
That's what I'm saying. Here you have everything. You got the beach, you can go inland, you have national parks. It really is for us. And another very important thing for people who are getting on a bit, you have a wonderful world-class hospital 5 minutes drive from my house. And I know because I spent many, many months in that hospital with my wife. Yeah. So even that, as you get older, it's very important that your healthcare, and you've got the Salud, you've got the medical centre just down the road, you've got pharmacies everywhere. No, I think it's...
One of the questions I wanted to ask you as well is which kind of activities you're doing at the moment, because after you were buying the property and you had your time to come in and decide to live in Spain, you became a resident. So what do you normally do here? So what people could expect, because people on holiday is not the same as you are living here permanently.
Very much so. And the first thing, you have your ideas what you want to do when you retire. I think everyone has that, and our plans were blown apart by Lorraine's diagnosis. So really in the first year of coming down here, my main aim was to make Lorraine as happy as she could be, spend all of my time with her, and basically get her through what we knew was going to be the inevitable end of her life. So my first year was dedicated to doing that. We travelled, we went in as many restaurants as we could. We went out, we couldn't go too far unfortunately because of the treatment she was on, but basically my aim was to make her life as pleasant as possible for her, what we knew was probably her last year. Then of course, when Lorraine passed, it's important that you don't get sucked in to just, it's very easy to go out every morning and go to the bar and have a brandy and and everything. You have to find something to do. So one of the things I did was took up golf again after 25 or 30 years of not playing golf. My friends kept saying, come on, get in and play golf. And I started playing golf probably now about 6 or 7 months ago, I suspect. I found that wasn't really enough for me. There's something missing in my life. I was desperately missing my wife, but I just needed to get to something else. So I was looking on the Royal British Legion website and I found that they were looking for caseworkers, which are charity workers. So I decided to volunteer to be a caseworker, did a 2-day course in Torrevieja, And I think now at the moment I've got something like 12 or 13 cases under my wing at the moment that I'm doing.
Wow.
And this gives me great pleasure to do something positive for people who are less well off than what you are. So the point I'm trying to make, I don't think it matters what you do, you have to have something to do. And of course, I forgot my wonderful new friend over here, my bike.
Wow.
I bought myself a bike, an e-bike, albeit,
We're
but
going to
you
get
still have to
a
pedal.
picture of that.
And I find, like, particularly at weekends, early in the morning, and I've been going some distances, believe you me, I did 124 kilometres the other week. So
it's unbelievable.
No, it's not. It's possible because the beauty here, you have that wonderful canal which runs all the way to Cartagena and goes all the way up to...
all flat.
Flat.
Yeah.
So actually it's pleasant to drive. You don't have to worry too much about the traffic. It's very scenic because you go through the golf courses and everything. So I think the point is try to keep yourself busy. I'm not saying I don't like to go out and have a beer, but what you mustn't do is get drawn into... You see so many people whose lives change for whatever personal circumstances, and then all they do, sit in the bar, and that's not... You're not going to see Spain.
No.
And now that I'm a little bit over Lorraine, more over than I was, because it's 13 months now, my idea is to start travelling like me and Lorraine. We want to see northern Spain. I love it. My idea is to drive up to northern Spain, drive right along the coast, and then come down through Portugal, come back in through the south of Spain, and then come back up again. And I'll spend 2 or 3 months doing that, just stopping in places. So
I think it's a good idea.
I can make that happen now. We were going to do it together, but I can do that on my own now, I think. I think it's important if you can. This thing about, when you get there, you'll learn to speak Spanish, that's very difficult when you're older to learn to speak Spanish. When you're young, it's easy. But I've managed, I'm actually not too bad. I can get by, I can get food, and I can converse and ask for things and all that. So I think it's important that you don't come here and start think that Spanish are different people. You're a guest in their country, and you should then... And the rules, everyone go, gosh, the bureaucracy there. It's no more bureaucratic than living in England. The thing is, you must do it properly. Get your car registered. Make sure you're registered for your tax and things. If you do it all, life here is very, very simple. And let's face it, you live here for probably half the price that you do in England, and you have wonderful December. I'm sunbathing in December before I go for my Christmas lunch on Christmas Day. You wouldn't be doing that where I live in.
No.
That's a certainty. So
sometimes not even in Portugal.
No. Yeah, I mean...
December here, we have the Christmas party in the beach.
You get some cold weather here, but when we say cold, when we mean cold here, we don't mean cold like you get in England with snow and ice and things.
No.
It's just...
12
it's only 14 degrees or 12 degrees.
Yeah.
So I mean, walking and cycling in them temperatures, winter is the perfect time to be doing it.
With your experience, Paul, just to clear some minds up, how much does it rain in here?
Well, if you don't include Gota Frias, which was...
Gota Frias is a little bit different, but it stays raining for 3 or 4 days, no?
No.
But how often it happens?
It's very difficult to say. I mean, you can look on the internet, it will give you the average rainfall, which is, I mean, this is, I believe, one of the sunniest areas in Spain, if you look on there. Very little rain. The problem with the rain here is, of course, is because you're so used to the sunshine every day, you feel robbed. If it's raining,
if it comes for 2 or 3 days.
How dare you?
Or if somebody books the holidays for 5 days and it rains for those 5 days.
Well, I remember last year.
Then they will think that his area is raining all the time.
My son came out in May last year, and as you well know, for 5 days, and 3 of them was rainy. But let's face it, that can happen anywhere.
Exactly.
But it's rare.
And we need it for the agriculture.
It is rare, exactly. The farmers and everything were delighted.
Spain is a big producer of, at least this area, lemons and olives and oranges.
But
so they need some water.
I think you'd be lucky if you got into double figures, I think, for the amount in a year that you get rain here. So now rain is not an issue. And it is cooler. I wouldn't say cold, it's cooler in the winter, as it would be, but it's not cold.
Mm-hmm. Paul, would you recommend this area to anyone that you know?
Yes, I would. I think so, definitely now. When I say area, I don't just mean Villamartin or Villamartin, I mean the Orihuela Costa. Once again, till you get to know it, and you don't get to know it till you've lived here, it's amazing how many lovely restaurants and how many different places and beaches there is to go. Within literally 30 minutes drive of here, you can be in some absolutely fantastic spots. You have Cartagena just down the road, you've got Alicante up the road, Granada. It's absolutely full of places to go. So yeah, I would certainly recommend Orihuela Costa, and depending on what you want, whether you want to be on a big urbanisation or you want to be a bit more rural, it's all there in Orihuela Costa.
And just one last question. Do you think that this area of Spain is complying with the security measures for now, the COVID-19?
I think...
Do you think that people could travel
yes, I
safely
think so.
and come and have an inspection trip for 3 or 4 days like
well,
you've
I
done
think Spain
safely?
Spain has put the UK to shame, quite frankly, on the way they've handled coronavirus. They were pretty tough. I remember sitting with my friend in a restaurant on the Friday evening, and we were told that we had to leave by 11 o'clock, and that was you. You were then grounded in your house, and we thought, yeah, all right then. And sure enough, nearly 10 weeks we had of that before we were let out. Unlike England, we weren't allowed to go for walks at first. I think you could go 50 metres with your dog and things. But I think the Spanish, it was painful. It really was very painful. But looking at the situation now here, and looking at it in America and in England and other countries, they got it right. I think now, providing you maintain your social distancing as best you can, wear your masks when it's in crowded places, etc. And if you do that, I think you're safe. And I think it's all down to the Spanish authorities being so tough when it first started. And if you remember, our region where we're living was actually 1 week into lockdown before the rest of Spain went in. Before the central government got on, in Alicante, we'd already been in it. 1 week. So no, I don't think you need to worry, but you need to be careful. You have to watch what you're doing, and more importantly, the rules are that you should always carry a mask with you.
Yeah.
So if you are going to get into a situation where social distancing can't be controlled, then you put your mask on. So no, I don't think there should be anything to worry about. Just be careful.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Paul.
You're welcome.
We, as a company, Costa Blanca Homes in Spain, we wish you the best.
Yeah, lovely.
The best of the experience here in Spain, and let's keep our friendship forever.
Yeah, we will, definitely.
Thank you.
You very much.